I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these posts, but here we are. I'm 34M, she's 32F. We've been together 8 years, married for 5. From the outside, we looked solid. Decent jobs, small apartment, shared routines, weekend grocery runs, inside jokes about how we'd never become that couple. You know, the distant, resentful ones who barely speak. But about 6 months ago, something shifted. At first it was subtle. She started snapping at me over nothing. If I asked how her day was, she'd sigh like I'd insulted her. If I came home 10 minutes late, she'd accuse me of not caring about her time. Meanwhile, she started staying out later and later. Work drinks. Team bonding. Helping a friend. The explanations changed, but the pattern didn't. She became weirdly protective of her phone. Face down on the table. Always on silent. Took it into the bathroom. Once, I walked into the kitchen and she physically flinched, like I'd caught her doing something illegal. She laughed it off and said, "God, you scared me." Relax. I told myself I was being paranoid. She's always been intense. Sharp-tongued. If she felt cornered, she'd lie without blinking, even about small stuff. Like telling me she hadn't ordered takeout when I could see the charge on our joint account. Then later she'd say, "Oh, I forgot. Why are you always attacking me?" I started second-guessing my own memory. Then came the first real red flag. She told me she had a late meeting on Thursday. Said she'd be home around 10. At 9:30, I got a notification from our shared car app. The car had been parked downtown for 2 hours. Not near her office. Near a hotel. When I texted her casually, "How's the meeting going?" she replied instantly. "Still in conference room. Boring as hell." That was the moment something cold settled in my stomach. I didn't confront her that night. I told myself there had to be some explanation. Maybe the app glitched. Maybe she carpooled. Maybe I was losing it. But for the first time, I couldn't shake the feeling that my marriage wasn't just strained. It was cracking. And I had no idea how deep the damage went. I didn't sleep that night. She came home around 10:45 p.m., smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. I know that sounds dramatic, but when you've lived with someone for 8 years, you know their scent. This was sweeter. Lighter. Not what she usually wears. I asked how the meeting went. She rolled her eyes immediately. Long pointless. I told you that. She didn't hesitate. No pause. No stumble. Just smooth, confident lying. That's her thing. If she commits to a version of reality, she owns it. I said, as casually as I could, "Oh. Weird. The car app showed you parked downtown for a while." For half a second, and I mean half a second, her face changed. It was subtle, but I saw it. A flicker. Then she snapped back. "Are you tracking me now?" she shot back. Sharp. Defensive. Loud. I reminded her it's a shared car account. She knows that. We both use it. She crossed her arms. "I had to meet a client at a cafe near there before the meeting. Why are you making this a thing?" I didn't remember her mentioning a client. But suddenly she had details. The client's name. The project. The reason it was confidential. The more specific she got, the less believable it felt. That night she went to bed early, back turned to me. No goodnight. No kiss. Just silence. And here's the part that messed with my head the most. She acted offended. Like I had betrayed her trust. The next few days were tense. She was colder than usual. Picking fights over stupid things. I left a plate in the sink. You never respect shared spaces. I forgot to buy oat milk. You don't listen to anything I say. It felt like she was building a case against me. Then Saturday happened. She said she was going to visit her sister for the afternoon. I didn't question it. I even told her to have fun. Around 4 p.m., her sister called me. She was confused. "Hey, is everything okay?" She said you guys had a fight and she might stay here tonight, but she's not here. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. I told her sister she must have misunderstood. Hung up. Stared at the wall for a solid minute. Then I opened our shared laptop. And that's when things stopped being just suspicious. They became undeniable. I wasn't snooping at first. I opened the laptop because I genuinely thought maybe there'd be some work email that explained the client meeting. Something that would make me feel stupid for doubting her. Instead, her email was still logged in. And right there, top of the inbox, was a hotel confirmation from Thursday night. The exact hotel downtown. Check-in, 7:12 p.m. 2 guests. My hands went numb. I clicked it. 1 queen bed. Late checkout requested. The reservation name wasn't just hers. It was hers, and some guy's name I didn't recognize. I wish I could say I handled it calmly. I didn't. My chest felt like it was collapsing inward. My ears were ringing. I actually had to sit down because I thought I might pass out. Then another notification popped up, a messaging preview in the corner of the screen. It wasn't WhatsApp or iMessage. It was some web-based chat platform I'd never seen before. I shouldn't have clicked it. But I did. The conversation was already open. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't ambiguous. It wasn't work-related. It was graphic. Flirty. Intimate. Inside jokes about last time. Complaints about how he suspects nothing. A message from her that said, "I told him I was in a meeting." He actually believed it. I read that line at least 10 times. He. Not my name. Not my husband. Just him. There were photos too. Nothing fully explicit, but enough. Selfies in outfits she never wore around me. One from what looked like a hotel bathroom mirror. Timestamp, Thursday. That was the moment the denial died. And then, because the universe apparently wasn't done humiliating me, I scrolled up further. This wasn't new. This had been going on for at least 4 months. 4 months of lies. Of gaslighting. Of her accusing me of being paranoid while she was literally booking hotel rooms behind my back. I felt anger first. A hot, violent surge. I wanted to smash the laptop. I wanted to drive to wherever she was and drag the truth out of her. But under the anger was something worse. I realized she wasn't just cheating. She was enjoying deceiving me. And I had no idea who I was married to anymore. I didn't call her right away. I just sat there, staring at that screen like it might suddenly rearrange itself into something less devastating. It didn't. I took photos of everything with my phone. The hotel confirmation. The messages. The timestamps. I don't even know why, instinct, maybe. Self-preservation. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Around 6:30 p.m., she walked through the door. Calm. Casual. Smiling. "Hey," she said, dropping her bag like it was any normal Saturday. "Why do you look like that?" I don't know what my face looked like, but apparently it gave something away. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just turned the laptop around so she could see the screen. And I watched her face. First, confusion. Then, recognition. Then, calculation. She didn't gasp. She didn't break down. She didn't even look ashamed. She sighed. "Wow. So you went through my stuff." That was her opening move. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "Let me explain." Just accusation. I told her the email was open. That I wasn't digging through locked apps. That her sister had called because she wasn't where she said she'd be. Another flicker of irritation crossed her face, not guilt. Irritation. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she said flatly. Out of proportion. I pointed at the hotel booking. The messages. Her line about how I believed it. She crossed her arms. Defensive posture. Chin up. "It wasn't serious," she said. "It's just something I needed." Something she needed. I asked her how long. She hesitated this time. "Just a beat. Couple of months." I told her I'd seen 4 months of messages. She rolled her eyes. "Okay, fine. 4. Does that detail really matter?" Yes. It mattered. Every lie mattered. Every time she called me insecure. Every time she said I was imagining things. I asked if she'd slept with him. She didn't answer directly. She said, "You're focusing on the wrong thing. The real issue is that we haven't been okay for a while." There it was. The pivot. Suddenly this wasn't about her cheating. It was about our problems. My shortcomings. My emotional distance. My failure to make her feel seen. I felt like the floor was tilting. Because part of me, the part that still loved her, almost wanted to believe it was my fault. But the other part of me remembered the hotel. The messages. The way she laughed about me, believing it. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. She wasn't sorry she cheated. She was sorry she got caught. The conversation escalated fast. I asked her one simple question. "Do you even feel bad?" She stared at me like I'd asked something ridiculous. "I feel bad that you're hurt," she said carefully. "But you're acting like I murdered someone." That sentence did something to me. I told her she lied to my face for months. That she looked me in the eye and made me question my own sanity. That she accused me of being paranoid while she was literally booking hotel rooms. Her response. "You were paranoid." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so absurd it felt unreal. She started pacing, running her hands through her hair, building her narrative in real time. "We haven't been connected in a long time," she said. "You stopped trying. You're always tired. You don't initiate." I felt invisible. I reminded her that I'd asked multiple times if something was wrong. That I'd suggested therapy. Date nights. Even a weekend trip. She waved that away. That's not the same as actually understanding me. Somehow, the affair became my failure to understand her. Then I asked the question I was afraid of. "Do you love him?" That made her pause. Not long. But long enough. "It's not about love," she said. "It's about feeling alive." Feeling alive. So I was what? A chore. A placeholder. Background noise. I asked if she planned to stop. She hesitated again. And that hesitation said more than anything else. "I don't know," she admitted. "I need time to think." Time. She wanted time. After 4 months of lying. After humiliating me. After turning me into the punchline of her private jokes. That's when the anger finally broke through the shock. I told her she didn't get time. Not like that. Not while still seeing him. She shrugged. Shrugged. "You can't control me." And she was right. I couldn't. But in that moment, I realized something else. I didn't have to stay. That night we slept in separate rooms. Or at least, I tried to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages. Her laughing. Her calling me clueless. The hotel bathroom selfie. The way she shrugged when I asked if she'd stop. I kept replaying the last 4 months in my head like security footage. The arguments she started out of nowhere. The times she accused me of emotionally checking out. The random bursts of affection that now felt rehearsed, like she was overcompensating. There was one memory that hit especially hard. About 2 months ago, I asked her directly. "Are you seeing someone else?" She didn't even blink. She got angry. Loud. Hurt. Said I was disgusting for even thinking that. She cried. Actual tears. Told me I'd broken her trust by suggesting it. And I apologized. I apologized. That realization made me physically sick. The next morning she acted normal. Almost cheerful. She made coffee. Asked if I wanted some. Like we'd just had a mild disagreement about laundry, not a full-blown betrayal. I told her I needed space. She nodded like that was reasonable. Take a few days. Calm down. Calm down. I asked her if she'd told him yet. Told him what? That I know. She shrugged again. Not yet. There's no reason to drag him into this drama. Drama. I felt something shift inside me then. Not explosive anger. Not heartbreak. Clarity. She wasn't conflicted. She wasn't remorseful. She wasn't torn between two men. She was protecting him. That told me everything. I packed a small bag. Just enough clothes for a few days. She watched me from the doorway, arms crossed. "You're being dramatic," she said. "We can fix this if you stop overreacting." Overreacting. I looked at her and tried to find the woman I married. The one who used to fall asleep on my chest. The one who promised honesty, even when it was uncomfortable. I couldn't see her anymore. "I'm not overreacting," I said quietly. "I'm finally reacting." And then I left. I ended up at my friend Mark's place. I didn't tell him everything at first. Just that things were bad. That I needed a couch and a few days to think. The first night away from her was weirdly quiet. No tension in the air. No waiting for the next sarcastic comment. No walking on eggshells. But the quiet didn't feel peaceful. It felt hollow. Around midnight my phone buzzed. Her. "I've been thinking. We need to talk." I didn't respond. Then another message. "You leaving like that was manipulative." Manipulative. I stared at the screen, wondering if this was some kind of psychological experiment I'd accidentally signed up for. A few minutes later. "If you tell people about this, just remember you're not perfect either." That one made my stomach drop. Not because I'd done anything close to what she did, I hadn't. But because it felt like a threat. Like she was already preparing a narrative. I finally replied. "I'm not trying to destroy you. I just need space." She responded instantly. "So you're just giving up on our marriage? After everything I've done for you?" That line hit hard. Because it reframed the entire situation. Suddenly I was the one abandoning her. I was the quitter. The coward. It was the same pattern I'd seen for months, flip the script, make me doubt my footing. The next morning I made the mistake of checking social media. She had posted a photo. Just a mirror selfie. Casual caption, "Fresh start energy." Fresh start. Like she'd just switched gyms, not detonated our marriage. And then I noticed something else. The guy. He liked the photo within seconds. And commented, "Proud of you. Proud of you." My hands were shaking again. Because this wasn't hidden anymore. It wasn't some secret guilt-ridden affair. It looked like they were stepping into the light. And I was the only one still standing in the wreckage. That comment, "Proud of you," stayed in my head all day. Proud of what? Lying? Gaslighting? Blowing up a marriage and calling it growth? I clicked his profile. Public. Of course it was public. That's when the second wave hit. He wasn't some random fling. He wasn't a mysterious older coworker or some midlife crisis cliché. He had photos going back months with her in the background. Group events. Work outings. Team dinners. Except in some of them, their body language wasn't subtle at all. Her hand on his arm. Him leaning into her. The kind of proximity you don't have with just a colleague. There was even a picture from a weekend she told me she was at a women's retreat. Same city. Same date. She had tagged it as a team-building event. I felt stupid. Not just hurt, stupid. Because I remembered that weekend. I dropped her off at the train station. Kissed her goodbye. Told her to relax and enjoy time with her friends. She'd texted me that night. "Miss you. Wish you were here." I sat on Mark's couch staring at those photos, and something inside me cracked open in a different way. It wasn't explosive anymore. It was grief. Not just for the marriage. But for the version of her I thought existed. Later that evening, she called. Not texted. Called. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Her tone was different. Softer. "I think we both handled this badly," she began. "We both." I stayed quiet. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she continued. "It just happened. For months of hotel bookings and secret messages, just happened." I asked her one thing. "Did you ever plan to tell me?" Silence. Then, eventually. I realized something in that pause. If I hadn't found those emails, she'd still be coming home late. Still lying smoothly. Still telling me I was insecure. I asked if she was still seeing him. Another pause. "I haven't decided what I want." That was the final confirmation. She wasn't choosing me. She was keeping options. And I was no longer willing to be one of them. The anger came back after that call. Not loud. Not explosive. Cold. Calculated. For days I'd been reacting emotionally, shock, disbelief, grief. But now something else took over. A quiet, uncomfortable clarity. I started looking at things practically. Our lease. Our joint bank account. Shared subscriptions. Insurance. All the boring adult stuff you don't think about until your life implodes. And here's where another bomb dropped. When I logged into our joint account, I noticed withdrawals I hadn't paid attention to before. Not just hotel charges. Gifts. Expensive dinners. Ride shares late at night. She hadn't just been cheating. She'd been funding it with our money. I scrolled further back. There were small transfers to a separate account I didn't recognize. Regular. Almost weekly. When I texted her asking about the transfers, she responded. "It's my money too. Stop auditing me." Auditing. I wasn't auditing. I was trying to understand how deep this went. Then she called again. "I feel like you're trying to punish me financially now," she said, irritated. I told her I wasn't punishing anyone. I just wanted transparency. "You're acting like a victim," she snapped. That word hit hard. Like she couldn't even allow me that. That night, Mark asked me the question I'd been avoiding. "Do you actually want to save this?" I opened my mouth to say yes. Nothing came out. Because saving something requires 2 people. And she wasn't fighting for us. She was fighting for control. The next morning I went back to the apartment to grab more clothes while she was at work. Or at least, she was supposed to be at work. Her car wasn't there. I walked inside, and the place felt different. Quieter. Like it already belonged to someone else. On the kitchen counter, there was a new perfume bottle. The same scent I smelled the night of the meeting. Still in the bag. With a handwritten note tucked underneath. Can't wait to see you tonight. My hand started shaking again. Because suddenly it wasn't abstract. It wasn't just messages on a screen. He had been here. In our space. And I realized this wasn't just an affair. It was replacement. I just stood there staring at that note for a full minute. Can't wait to see you tonight. Not even subtle. Not even careful. In our kitchen. On our counter. Something inside me went very, very still. I didn't smash anything. I didn't call her screaming. I didn't text him. I took a photo of the note. Then I sat down at the table where we used to eat dinner and tried to process the fact that my wife had brought another man into our home. Our bed. Our space. The level of disrespect finally outweighed the heartbreak. And that's when the third bomb dropped. Her laptop was open on the desk. A document on the screen. I wasn't planning to look, I swear I wasn't, but my name caught my eye. It was a draft message. To him. I think he's going to move out soon. He's too emotional to handle this maturely. Too emotional. I kept reading. He's acting like I destroyed his life, but honestly we've been dead for a while. I just didn't have the courage to leave. Dead for a while. That one hurt more than the cheating. Because we weren't dead. We were arguing. We were stressed. We were distant at times. But I was still trying. I suggested therapy. I asked questions. I tried to reconnect. She didn't want to fix it. She wanted an exit ramp that made her look justified. And suddenly all those fights made sense. She wasn't reacting to problems. She was building a narrative. The emotionally unavailable husband. The controlling partner. The overly suspicious guy. If she could paint me as unstable, her betrayal looked less cruel. That realization burned. Not just because she cheated. But because she was rewriting our story while I was still living in it. I closed the laptop. Packed the rest of my things. And as I was walking out the door, my phone buzzed. Her name. I think we need to set boundaries, the message read. Boundaries. After everything. For the first time since this started, I didn't feel confused. I felt done. I stayed with Mark for a few more days, just trying to breathe. Every notification from her made my chest tighten. She texted like it was normal, little, hey, just checking in, messages that were anything but casual. Every time I saw her name, I felt that same mix of anger and disbelief, like the wound had been reopened. Then came the subtle manipulations. She'd post on social media little, self-reflection, posts. One said, sometimes people leave because they can't see the bigger picture. Growth isn't always easy. I knew that one was for me. Another, a vacation photo with him tagged casually. No caption. Just them smiling. Her in a dress I had bought her for our anniversary last year. I called her out after that. Really? Posting this? Her response. Cold, dismissive. It's my life. You need to stop obsessing. Obsession. That word again. Like she could flip the script at will. And I realized something crucial, she wasn't apologetic. She wasn't confused. She wasn't even hiding anymore. She had fully embraced her new reality. And I wasn't in it. That's when the clarity hit. I wasn't fighting to save a marriage. I was fighting to reclaim my dignity. So I started making plans. Not just emotionally stepping back, but practically. Lawyer calls. Bank changes. Apartment search. I refused to give her the satisfaction of dragging me down while she smiled at him. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of control. Control that didn't depend on her. Control that was mine. And in that moment, despite the pain, I knew, whatever happened next, I wasn't going to be broken by someone who could lie with such ease. I was going to survive. And maybe, someday, I'd even feel whole again. The day I finally served the divorce papers felt surreal. I didn't do it out of anger anymore. Not even revenge. I did it out of necessity. Her reaction. Exactly what I expected. She laughed. Not a genuine laugh. Not a nervous laugh. A sharp, cutting laugh that made it clear she thought I was overreacting. "You're really going through with this?" she asked. "After everything? Don't be dramatic." I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just handed her the papers and left. Later that night, I sat alone in my new apartment, staring at the ceiling. It hit me, the last 8 years, all the shared memories, the inside jokes, the plans for the future, they were gone. Just like that. And yet, I didn't feel empty. Not completely. There was a strange relief in knowing that the manipulation, the lies, the constant second-guessing, all of it, was over. I allowed myself to grieve, finally. Not just for the relationship, but for the version of her I thought I knew. I cried. I cursed. I screamed into my pillow. And slowly, piece by piece, I started to untangle myself from the chaos she had created. It wasn't instant. It wasn't easy. And I'll be honest, some days I still think about her. But the difference now? I see her clearly. I know her truth. And that knowledge gave me power. Power to start over. Power to protect myself. Power to stop doubting my own instincts. I realized something: the marriage didn't fail because of me. It failed because she chose deceit over honesty, manipulation over love. And that was never my burden to carry. It was hers. And I was done carrying it. The aftermath was messy. Friends and family started asking questions. Some of them had seen the posts, the vacation photos, the subtle hints she'd left online. Most people sided with me once I told the truth, but a few shrugged and said, "Well, you two were struggling anyway." That stung. A lot. Because yes, we had problems, every marriage does, but none of those issues justified what she did. None. The hardest part was untangling our shared life. Changing passwords. Closing joint accounts. Dividing possessions. Every little thing was a reminder. A photo frame, a coffee mug, a book we both loved, they all carried echoes of her betrayal. But slowly, I reclaimed my space. My routines. Even simple things felt like victories: making my own breakfast, putting up a new poster on the wall, sleeping without fearing a hidden message or secret plan. And here's something unexpected: I started laughing again. Small things at first. A ridiculous meme. A joke from a coworker. Then bigger things. I realized I could still find joy, even after all of it. It didn't erase the hurt. It didn't erase the rage or the heartbreak. But it reminded me that life continues. That happiness isn't tied to someone else's choices, especially not someone who repeatedly chose deceit over you. It took time, but I began to see a future where I wasn't defined by her actions. Where I wasn't trapped in the chaos she created. Where I could finally be free. And that freedom, that was worth everything. I started therapy a few weeks after the separation. At first, I thought I didn't need it, I just needed to move on and cut ties. But sitting down with someone who actually listened helped me unpack the tangled mess of emotions: shame, anger, grief, self-doubt. I realized something crucial. I had spent months questioning my own reality because of her lies. I doubted myself constantly, and that's one of the most insidious forms of abuse, emotional manipulation that makes you feel unmoored in your own life. Therapy helped me reclaim my sense of self. To understand that her betrayal wasn't a reflection of my worth. That her sharp tongue, her lying, her gaslighting, those were hers to carry, not mine. I also started reconnecting with friends I'd let drift. Real connections. People who grounded me, reminded me of who I was before all the chaos. And slowly, I started dating again. Tentatively, carefully, but with boundaries that I never had before. I learned to recognize red flags, to trust my instincts, to speak up when something felt off. Most importantly, I learned to value honesty above all else. Because once you've been lied to over and over, truth becomes the most precious thing you can offer, to yourself and to anyone else. It wasn't an easy road. Some nights, I still replay moments, messages, that shrug, that laugh. But I've stopped letting them control me. I've stopped letting her story define mine. I survived her. And now I'm finally starting to thrive. Here's what I've learned from this nightmare, and maybe it can help someone reading this. 1. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't let someone gaslight you into questioning your own reality. 2. Boundaries are life-saving. Once I realized she wasn't remorseful or committed to fixing things, stepping back was the only way to protect myself. 3. You can grieve and still move forward. Feeling hurt, betrayed, and angry is natural. But don't let those emotions trap you in the past. 4. Self-worth isn't negotiable. Her lies and manipulation didn't define me. They defined her. I had to separate her choices from my value. 5. Surround yourself with people who see you. Friends, family, even a therapist, people who anchor you when someone you trusted turns toxic. I won't lie, the pain lingers. Some days I catch myself replaying the moments, wondering if I missed something, if I could have saved it. Then I remind myself, I didn't fail. I didn't lie. I didn't manipulate. I wasn't the one who chose deceit over honesty, cruelty over love. This experience tore me apart, but it also built me back up stronger. I've learned to recognize toxicity, to stand up for myself, and to never settle for anything less than honesty and respect. If you're in a similar situation, don't ignore the signs. Don't let manipulation make you doubt yourself. Protect your heart, your mind, and your life. Some people come into your life to teach you lessons. Unfortunately, she came in as a liar. But the lesson? I survived, I learned, and I'm still here. And one day, you will be too.